Hey, Zach.
You okay, Zach?
Now we're live and recording.
Sorry, guys.
There we go.
Well,
yeah, it says we're live, but we're not actually live yet. Don't worry.
Okay, so
sorry.
Do you want to just? Do you want to just say?
You saw these guys at the Case Conference. They're from University of Colorado. You're going to enjoy it. It really is about
62 years of experience in major and principal gift work, and maybe just go.
I think that's what I'm going to do. Yep.
Great. I'll share my screen now. Is that okay?
Yeah, please do.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we are ready to go. Let me share the screen. And then, Scott, if you can, there's a little window because you're sharing your screen that says like stop sharing and hide. If you just want to hit hide, that way we won't see that too. Yep. Okay. Let me. Okay. I think we're ready. I'm gonna push us live and we'll get started. Sorry for the rocky start here.
We're good.
How many are in?
Looks like we've got a dozen people so far, but you will see some more, I'm sure, come in. Okay.
Doesn't matter. We give it just to you if it's just you. But
Sorry.
But yeah, take your time, Scott.
I'm going to stop sharing for a second. I want to see if I can see you guys on one screen, and I can, yeah. All right, and then I'm going to share screen.
I think when you're sharing, you can't.
Okay.
Just imagine us.
Okay. Can you see the Can you see it now?
Yes,
you can. Yep. That looks great.
Okay.
And we can see you.
I'm gonna get us started here.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. This is Zach Rubin, Executive Director of the Alumni Learning Consortium. I'm here for our talk today with Jim Hodge and Scott Arthur. I had the pleasure of hearing Jim and Scott speak at a CASE conference last year, and just felt their message was really powerful and unique and valuable in rethinking the way alumni offices and advancement in general think about philanthropy. I'll hand it over to Jim and Scott, let them introduce themselves a little bit more and dive right in, and we'll go from there. Thank you all for joining us.
So I'm Jim Hodge, and I've spent 43 years toiling in the beautiful and noble work of major and principal gifts. And Scott and I worked together both at Mayo Clinic and the last 6 years at the University of Colorado Anschutz Medical Campus.
I'm Scott Arthur. I'm the Vice Chancellor for Advancement at the CU Anschutz Medical Campus. I've been working in philanthropy for 21 years, and this talk is something that we did at CASE. It's a 45-minute to an hour talk, and it's really about fear and anxiety, and I'm sure in this time of COVID, I think a lot of people can relate to that. This is it's baked in humor, I hope, and I hope you enjoy it. Jim and I enjoy it. Which is, is what counts. But we hope that you enjoy it too. There's a chat function. Zach's going to be looking at questions throughout the presentation. I think we're going to go through the presentation, and then if there's any time for questions and answers, we'll kind of go through that. And
I just would like to thank the participants for showing up to anything that has the word fear in it.
Yep. I think that's really, it shows you that you're already taking the first step. Courage is taking the step in spite of the fear. It's not like you don't have fear, it's still going. So you guys are
precisely
great. All right, reducing anxiety in our work and keeping talented staff and inspiring more philanthropy for our institution. So as you heard, we love this topic. We're passionate about the industry. These slides were created out of 61 years of pain combined, where we have seen how people look at the industry, how they approach the industry, and we would like the people around this that are either alumni focused or philanthropy focused, it's still the same feeling between being busy and having activity versus productivity. And this is what we're gonna talk about. Oh, we can hear your lawnmower there, Jim.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. They'll be gone.
You're good now. Go ahead.
So what we've seen in our 60 plus years, and in particular in our travels around the country in the last 2, is that our work has become disturbing, and that we're calling on you. We're setting an example for us about we've got to disrupt the practice or return it to the noble purpose. So we've made a business out of something once beautiful, literally made a business in the sense that it's about sales and metrics.
Talk about how people are tired of being manipulated.
Well, I think, it goes without saying that we're all tired of being manipulated politically for our votes. We're tired of being manipulated by commerce to buy things. And we're tired of being manipulated for our gifts as well. It's just a form of exhaustion. And you layer on that COVID, social issues coming up in the economy, and tired is an operative word. And we run a no manipulation shop.
So the people on these calls, you're in this profession, whether it's alumni full-time or philanthropy full-time, or I'm guessing a few people are doing both, is you're doing this because you want to make a dent in the world. You could be making a lot more money doing something else, but you have chosen, and again, you've applied for these jobs, right? This is what you've chosen to do. And you did this, I believe, because you wanted to make a dent in the world. You wanted to leave the world in a better place than where you are right now. And the funny thing is, benefactors, they give because they want to put a dent in the world. Alumni want to be engaged in your institutions because they want to be be a part of something bigger than themselves. The issue is, why are these two circles not connecting? And there's carnage that happens as we connect these two circles, and this affects everyone. This affects alumni, benefactors, leaders, fundraisers, researchers. It's about money, right? It's about trying to get as much money as we can, because at the end of the year, we want to do this, and we want to show that we've really done a good job by getting as much money as possible. And it affects how we write. It affects how we engage people. It affects how we engage our alumni. So this is really this idea of scarcity versus abundance. All right. And so this is a foundational fact, that a foundational piece of information that we set out at our case conference is, scarcity speaks of never enough. Scarcity speaks of fear, mistrust, envy, greed, hoarding, competition, fragmentation. Now, you don't have to raise your hand, but if you're currently working in an environment like this, you might want to keep that to yourself,
Yeah.
But if
no names of people either. But.
Yeah. And if you have it, but I'm sure, because I have worked in organizations that were like this.
Yeah.
And so there's not a lot of joy in these environments. And if there's one thing that you're going to hear that we're going to say at the beginning, all right, is that there is enough. You are enough. There is enough capacity. But are we approaching it in a values-driven way to inspire greater philanthropy than we ever thought possible? So we're going to introduce something. Now, this is supposed to garner some anxiety for you, okay? And Jim, in particular, he gets a little nervous as we go through this. But we've created a concept called the flywheel of fear. And so on your chat, if you can say that you've either seen this at other organizations or you're feeling it in your current organization, let Zach know. But this is something that we have seen in our lifetime. So here we go. we are going to introduce what we think why the industry needs to be disrupted, the flywheel of fear. Okay, this is what your president or chancellor or CEO says. My God, they just raised $1 billion over there, which is our peer. We should be able to raise $2 million. Well, then let's go to the vice president for advancement. What is your strategy to go from 1 billion to 2 billion? Oh, you know what we're going to do? I got an idea. Let's double everything. Let's double our asks. Let's double our metrics. Let's double the amount that we ask, right? And let's double our development officers, because nothing makes development officers feel good when their portfolios are really, really not good. And then we realize that there's 40 other development officers are going to be joining the team. That makes people feel really good about that. You know what we need though, Jim? We need to get some consultants, and we need to get a case for support, Jim. Jim, how many times did you use the case for support at Mayo Clinic when you're talking to benefactors or alumni? Because they spent about $2 million on it. How many times?
Usually I ask how many people from Mayo are on the line, but I'm just going to go with it. I used, I think two.
Okay, 2 times.
2 times,
right?
5 years.
Yeah, and we need, you know what we need is we need a 1-pager. Because if we have a 1-pager that talks about our case, it's going to be easy to raise a lot of money as a result of it. That's what we need.
No,
and you know what,
Scott, we need 73
We need 73 different, because we want to talk about our needs, right? You know what happens now is the average tenure is 14 to 18 months, depending on the source. And so people are out of the door in 14 to 18 months because they secured a big gift. Something came in. I'm out of here. This is relenting. And so when you're relationship based in your approach, 14 to 18 months is a great timeline. You know, you get to know people and you're out of there, right? Right, Jim?
Get to know, gotta go.
Gotta go. I'm a board member and I'm a volunteer, right? And I'm going to ask all my friends for money, or I'm on an alumni board and we're going to raise a lot of money. You think you're going to put them on the board because they're going to give you more money. They won't. You put them on the board and because they're going to introduce them to their friends and they're going to give you a lot of money. They won't. They don't, and they won't. Now, there is a role for a board. There's definitely a role in terms of community engagement and all that. We just wonder, you know, is fundraising that? So here's the flywheel of fear.
Oh my God, it's spinning.
It is. So what we're going to do now, everybody, I'm just going to let everyone focus on this for a little bit, just because I think it's kind of fun. We're going to take each one of those pieces and talk about the pain that we went through to be able to address each one of them. All right, here we go.
Thank you. We're going to make it stop, Scott.
I hit stop. All right, hit stop. All right, here we go. Losing and competition. This goes into scarcity. Insert any CEO's name. They just raised $1 billion. We should be able to raise $2 billion.
And that could be 10 million to 20. It's not based on data. It's just based on competition.
Because that's what the paper said. They raised $2 billion. So our jobs are managing expectations and egos. And what we're going to talk about is those big numbers that everybody talks about. It's usually around 30 or 40 gift conversations that allow you to get to those numbers. So it's really managing that with your CEOs and your presidents or your department chairs or your leaders. It's what we've learned is development officers that if they're on this call, they're 2 to 3 gifts away from having a really great year. All we're saying is on these 20 or 30 conversations, we've got to be very intentional about that. Jim, you want to talk about the second bullet point?
Sure. We ascribe that it's not about competition with others within your organization or outside of your organization. It's a challenge to our own organization. And we can't see you, so we don't know your respective ages, but Baryshnikov was perhaps the best ballet dancer in the world, who said, I don't dance to be better than others. I dance to be better than myself.
And that's what we're going to talk about a lot, is changing your heart and your mind about what you're doing during your day and making sure that you're doing the right type of activities. I'm going to combine 3 in the last bullet point. So consultants are paid well to promote campaigns and their products. And what we have seen at CU is there's power in simplification. right? We don't, I mean, you got to think about, there's philanthropists that are just like plugs, and they're trying to plug in, and they got to find the outlet on how they can plug into your organization. But we've done strategic plans, and we've done priorities, and we have fundraising priorities that fill up those buckets. And what we like to say is, on those 20 or 30 conversations, and alumni on the line, how you partner with philanthropy, with your philanthropy team, is what are the 3 or 4 alumni that are very, very engaged, and how can we have a campaign of one, a strategy of one, a proposal that's customized to those folks that talk about their values, that talk about the impact of your institution on their lives or on others, and how their philanthropy can take it to the next level. It's not about a brochure. It's about a timeline of giving. It's about really connecting them to the organization in a customized, one-by-one, shoulder-to-shoulder way. Because if you do that well 20 or 30 times, one by one, an alumni, if you engage those with the philanthropist, you're going to raise more money. Also, we give our faculty and our leaders too much credit. We don't really know, I don't know much about teaching or doing surgery, right? And people don't understand our business. And we can complain about that. We can say they just don't understand. Or we can actually take some time to explain the process about that. It's not just about, going to dinner and asking. It's not about just because they have a lot of money means that they are ready to give, right? It's about showing them the art and the work of the philanthropy. Jim, you want to talk about ideas?
Do I want to talk about ideas? Where?
Second to last bullet point.
Yeah. I think one of the most important shifts is that our work is not about money. In fact, Scott, if you focus on money,
you're going to lose.
Yeah. If you shift your focus about the development of big, compelling, just, important ideas that actually attract gifts of significance, we call them investment-worthy ideas. And so the shift is to your vision and to the idea that you co-create with each benefactor. And we may get a chance to talk about that, or you may have questions about that.
So these slides are the key takeaways. So Jim, you want to, if you're going to hear anything, this is one of the key takeaways. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah. So we don't do the broad brush, as you heard Scott say. We don't do a campaign. I'm just going to say it. What we see the world doing in philanthropy is an inside-out approach. We just all get together. We talk to all our community. We develop notebooks of needs, and we send out our alumni staff and others to sell those needs. And what we do is we focus on one by one benefactor, those 20 or 30 that we have found universally are what will make or break an organization. So the currency of our profession is the enduring good we do, and the fact that you're giving to humanity or something greater than yourselves through our organizations, not to, but through, to create.
That's the first, for us, it's hard, to realize that it's not about us, and it's not about the institution. It really is about the benefactor or the alumni, and it's about their values and how they want to showcase their values and their legacy through you. This is what we're saying is, and I'm not, oh, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we ascribe to this statement. We are not important, but the work we do together is very important.
So if you're like us, and these percentages might be different, but if you have some philanthropy team members on this call, we've learned that 95% of our income comes from 5% of our benefactors. I mean, to be honest, and I'll be transparent, at CU, it's really around 2% and 98%. All we're saying is in this presentation, every gift of significance is important. It's not about the amount, it's about the impact.
Yeah.
a child that's doing a lemonade stand that raises $32.54. That's a gift of significance because of her mother who passed away. We're not trivializing those type of gifts. What we are saying, though, the impact on a fundraising goal, not an impact in the world. Those are two separate things. Impact on the world, it doesn't matter what the size is. What we're saying is impact on your fundraising goal. You're going to get there through that 2%. I would love to hear from you on a chat if you agree with that. All we're saying is on that 2%, this is how we really engage with our benefactors.
How we approach the work and the way we work does not differ by the various amounts of the gifts people give. It doesn't differ at all. The focus differs on that 2-3% of your best benefactors. So I just our sense of humor is built for us, and I thought this was funny. Shift happens. A whole lot of shift needs to happen in this business. And Scott, you want to give a plug for me in your usual?
Yeah, there's a if you Google Jim Hodge and TED Talk, it's 17 minutes. You'll never get back. No, but honestly, like it's foundational of everything that we did at CU, and it's about the spirit and the intentionality of the work, right? Because there's not a lack of capacity.
Yeah, this is now like 423 billion, far more than $1 billion a day. So there's no shortage of money, philanthropic money. There's a shortage of big, compelling ideas that have pull and that attract us and create an ideal place that we want to be with an organization.
So this is not going to be a quiz because we can't see people's chats. So I'm just going to have Jim take this quiz. All right, Jim, did this person say this?
No, Scott. To my recollection, this great man said, I have a dream. And so what we're encouraging you is my work with venture capitalists, my work with entrepreneurs, and it was 30 plus years only with entrepreneurs, having an important vision. We're saying to dream more. When you dream more, when you're more creative, it opens the aperture for innovation. And as such, it becomes very attractive to benefactors capable of making gifts of significance.
But Jim, I think people here are thinking, how do we get faculty to dream bigger? Yes, we agree, but how do we get that narrative? How do we get that dream? So we've created a framework. It's like brushing your teeth. It's simple. It's not sexy, but it works, right? Those of you that know Simon Sinek, The Power of Why, he's got a great TED Talk too. I would highly recommend it. This is similar to this. This is not a new idea. We are not going to claim ownership of this, but what we will claim is we've operationalized this at CU. And so as we go through this, and we meet with benefactors and we meet with faculty, and this is how we draw upon these ideas that Jim is talking about. So the hardest thing to do with faculty, and this can be philanthropy, this can be your organization, this could be like your alumni organization. We imagine that we're going to do X as an alumni organization, right? We imagine 3,000-foot view. In 5 years, this is what the patient experience is going to be, the why. It's casting a vision about what the student experience is going to be at your institution. It's casting a vision about, what your alumni group is going to be doing. The what, like this is the 300-foot view, is how will we get there? So I'll give you an example, 3,000-foot view. We imagine a world where we do not have any more age-related macular degeneration. We imagine a world where that is not a disease that will lead to blindness almost 100%. A lot of people want to live in that world. A lot of people want to experience that. 300-foot view, the strategy is we don't have silos at CU.
We do not.
We do not. We have cylinders of excellence.
We'll give that line to you, because when it's said with faculty, staff, alumni, there's a pause, and then usually there's a laugh.
So we had 2 cylinders of excellence. We had the Gates Center for Regenerative Medicine, and we had our Department of Ophthalmology, and they came together to say, we want that shared vision. And they were very, very good at translational work. They were very good clinically. And they had really good infrastructure there. But the missing piece was a basic and translational researcher. And that 3-foot view, the tactics, is we need a recruitment package of $10 million to be able to recruit somebody. So when you look at this, they'll do the 10 million if they believe that that 10 million will help with the why of curing age-related macular degeneration. We imagine a world where it doesn't matter your social economic background, that you will get the same opportunity as anybody else in the country. We've got a matching program here that says that we're going to create a scholarship program where anyone that wants to come to our organization, they can. It does not matter their background. 3-foot view, it's a $100 million scholarship drive that we're going to be doing. People will like that vision. Too many times, especially in higher ed and at academic medical centers, we start here. We talk about us. We're good at it. We're comfortable talking about our needs. It's getting the conversation here. And as Hodge said, a shared why. Not about your organizational why, but your benefactor why and your organizational why.
We kid you not. We actually do this. This is a test. When we develop ideas in concert with faculty, when we get to a point where we think we have a cogent, inspiring vision, we say, but does it give you goosebumps? Is the hair raising on your arm? Then we know that this will be attractive to people who want to put a dent in the world.
And this is mainly, our experience has been in academia, but the best ideas are building those bridges between your cylinders of excellence, right? It's that weaving of the narrative between different departments, different schools, different colleges, engineering, business school, art and business, things like that. That's where things get really great. So that's the first pot. We got to raise $1 billion, then we get 2. We were saying it's all about the ideas in 3 or 4. All right, failure and metric mania. Oh my gosh, the president just said we have to raise $2 billion or $1 billion. So what we're going to do is, through an email, we're not going to have a conversation. We're going to double our asks. We're going to double our metrics. We're going to hire a ton of development officers, because the more development officers we have, the more money we're going to raise. So if that's the case, at CU, we might as well just hire 1,000 development officers if that's the case, right? But data suggests that there is more qualitative things that we could. So we do believe that adding more development officers does not translate into doubling or tripling philanthropy. This goes back to the 14 to 18 months and the morale issue that we see in the industry, where current development officers are not feeling that they've got a portfolio and a support around them to be successful. I'm sure there's people on this call, they're wearing many, many hats. They're writing the proposal, they're doing the research. All we're suggesting is maybe we, instead of using those resources to buy development officers, we actually use resources to hire teams of professionals like writers, graphic designers, assistants. So then our development officers, that's right, project managers that help these development officers to get them focused on the productive work of raising dollars, right? So we went from a $65 million a year shop to about a $265 million a year shop, and we have 17 development officers.
Same numbers we started with, I believe.
And so but what they're doing is they're more productive because they're just focusing on the benefactor and they're focusing on gift conversations. We've simplified metrics, right? Quality over quantity. When I first started at CU, and I'll be vulnerable, I was the first time I was vice chancellor, and I wanted to prove a point and said, we're going to have 125 visits, and that's what we're going to do. And then after about 4 years, I realized that everybody was doing about 100 to 110 visits. Old model would be, oh my gosh, let's really slam them down. I told you it's 125 visits. But maybe I have not created an environment where people can do that, because it was pretty consistent. Everybody was around 100, 110. So that's maybe where we are. We should always be aspirational and dream bigger, but in terms of getting to what the data is showing, right? So there's data versus metrics.
Yes.
Our data is suggesting 110 visits. What was interesting, though, is what we do not have dollar goals for our development officers. Because you can't control, and that's with alumni too. I know it's tough. Like, what does success look like? I mean, the thing about fundraising, it's one of the things in higher ed that when you're successful, everybody knows. When you're not, everybody knows. And that's why there's fear and anxiety, because they don't want to mess up. So when we simplified our metrics, we focused on things that we can control. We moved from face-to-face visits to shoulder-to-shoulder having conversations. We moved from asks to gift conversations. Our goal at CU is 20 gift conversations. So it was interesting going back to that, 100 to 110 was our sweet spot. Our goals for gift conversations were 20, but all of our development officers, because their portfolios were so good, were so much higher than that. All right, but we're looking at 20 gift conversations. Then if there's development officers or any leaders on this call, we at CU, we care less about you contacting every single person in your portfolio. What we do is we think about your portfolio as a pie chart. And in January, if it's 100% discovery, and then in December, it's 100% discovery, where's the work? We want to move
what's happening?
We want to move the composition into discovery, cultivation, stewardship, solicitation, where we see movement within that. We want to see movement in portfolio composition changing.
Scott, I think it's really important that you say fewer metrics, more data.
That's right.
It's not that that we don't watch. And to make it clear, Scott and I do have goals.
Yeah. Oh no. Everyone has goals. So it's not that we're anti-metric. We are pro data and simplifying it. So Jim and I, our goal this year is $200 million. But my development officers, they can't control what people give. But I apply for my job. I mean, I'm the bucket stoppeth with me, and so that's the spirit behind it. And then we do a pretty big focus on values and the culture of the team.
Yeah. So one of the key takeaways is what we've referred to. The nature of our work doesn't entail manipulation to move money from the benefactor's pockets to ours. But we see it as a noble act of ethical inspiration that creates partnerships. And we believe that philanthropy plays an essential role in a well-examined life. That goes back to Socrates, that it's a thoughtful, reflective, meaningful act.
You see that animation, Jim? Look, watch.
I don't remember that, but this is exciting to me. So I probably 4 years into this work, I was burned out. I would ask face to face. I ask, you give, I go, rinse and repeat. Monday, make 6 phone calls to get 3 visits, to make 3 asks to get 1 gift, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Face to face increases the idea of scarcity. Zero sum. I'm more, you're less. It sets up, am I being sold something? It causes anxiety for the benefactor and for the development officer. So if we're going to be about this, let's rename our departments the departments of taking. That's also our sense of humor. So we look at our work and
Google Seth. You'll like Seth's work. Just Google Seth.
Yeah, get on the mailing list. You'll enjoy it. So we can look at ourselves as artists, talent-based, or we can look at ourselves as vendors or salespeople. It's a choice.
Now, make no mistake. I mean, there is tactics here. I mean, like, it's just really understanding what the work is, right? And so for the alumni group, it's a little bit more difficult because I understand nationally there's this dialogue about what is our metrics, what is engagement, what does success look like, and that's why, with the fundraising teams, it's I'm not saying it's easier, but as we said, if we're successful, everybody knows, and we do know kind of what type of work, which is shoulder to shoulder work, asking permission to have conversations. Jim, talk about opening versus closings on the art side.
Yeah, on the art side, I think we need to make this shift, that our work is not about closing anything, including gifts. It's indeed the opposite. It's about opening conversations and relationships and sharing mutual values and finding that sweet spot and co-creating an idea that's compelling to the institution and to the benefactor. And we basically sum it up. I don't know if there's a slide, that we have to be more aspirational for our institutions and more inspirational for our benefactors.
So those of you that are in a campaign or planning a campaign, we could do all the analysis and we can do all the campaign planning. I would suggest looking at our top 100 past benefactors, the people that already like us. And if you do campaigns of one on your top 100 and do campaigns of one that align their values with your institutional support and all the energy and time that you're doing with campaign planning, and you do those with campaigns of one, you will raise more money. All right, here we go. I'm going to stop it. Collateral damage. So we just talked about this. This is any development officer here. I need that case for support. I need the words. I need something to talk about. I can't just show up with anything without anything.
But Scott, what happens when you reach down and pull out that one pager?
The relationship changes to transactional. It just does.
You're selling.
You are selling and you want to move to compelling. We actually train first visits. We train that you don't bring anything. You don't even bring up a card. We listen. We listen about their values. We listen. We ask, what's your background? You'd be amazed the relational equity and the speed of trust that happens when you can ask just the right questions. So campaign materials, our experiences, we don't use them. You think you need them and you don't. Focus that, like I said, the 100 people that have been given to your institution, focus on those at the beginning of the campaign. Figure out what their timeline of giving have been. Figure out how much they've given. Show them the 10-year span and the impact that's happened. Ask them permission to say, we've got another idea, but before we bring the right people in here, are you open to that conversation? Jim talked about outside in versus inside out. Let's create a strategic plan. Let's do all of this. Let's create funding priorities, and then development officers go sell those. Versus bringing in 10 or 20 or 30 benefactors to say, we're thinking about dreaming big, we're scared. But inspired in the right way, would you take this walk with us? Would you, because it's asking permission before creating all the content. Because if you're creating all the content and it's not aligning with your benefactor's values, it's a waste of time. Understanding values first, outside first, understanding how they want to use their philanthropy, then you bring people in to align the institutional priorities in there. Now, we're not saying we chase money, right? If it doesn't align with values, that's called lazy development work. I just want the gift and I just want the money. No, this is about alignment and marriage. No dense text. There's an inverse relationship to joy and the girth of a proposal or gift agreement, right? Inverse relationship. A lot of people, I'm telling you, these big gifts, it's the picture. It's not the text.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a rocket scientist to talk about how great your institutions are in 30 pages. It takes a rocket. It's hard to do it in a page in a picture. Where they look at the picture and say, I want to do that. I see what you're doing. You want to make a translational bridge between, our business school and our engineering school. You want to do a translational bridge between our basic researchers and our clinical. I want to help build that bridge. And here are the bullet points underneath that bridge. Campaigns are about selling, and it's about ego. It just is. It's about showing that we've raised more money than anybody. Development officers and VPs on the line, your success usually are 10 or 15 gift conversations per year. Simplify those conversations that fit on a napkin. Talk about entrepreneurs, Jim.
Literally, we draw, here's what we're thinking on a napkin, a pie chart, whatever. And the beautiful thing is you don't do it for manipulative purposes. But as soon as the benefactor said, why wouldn't you do this? Or could you add this? As soon as they engage in that writing, the equity in the idea, and that's what we're promoting here, an important idea rises. They are shoulder to shoulder with us.
Entrepreneurs, Jim, talk about that.
Entrepreneurs are 30 years of experience, 100% entrepreneurs at Mayo Clinic. 90+% are visual, and they throw away dense text because about 30% are dyslexic. They're interested in a visual, one or two. And think about this too. You may be talking to a representative of a family. So we have to make it simple so ideas can be articulated back to the benefactors or directly to the benefactors. Drawing, visuals.
We talked about opening versus closings. Development officers in the room, if you've got entrepreneurs in your portfolio, I would spend significant time with them. If their names match the company name, we enjoy that.
We love it.
We just enjoy that. That's just something to look at.
Yeah, and they're 10 to 15 times more generous than people who make their money in any other way. Really, entrepreneurs are in your neighborhood. They're in your organizations. Focus on entrepreneurs and private business owners. So, when you rhyme too much, you're subject to being questioned, but it helps. It helps you remember things. We're going to be compelling and draw people to an important idea. We're not going to be pushing. Stop pushing. And all of this has to fit on a napkin. It's not an untoward thing we're doing to benefactors, but rather an important walk we take with philanthropists. It's a new portal into a greater, more engaged experience. So this stuns me every time I see it, but we have to stop talking, selling, and telling that big mouth and the little tiny ears, and we have to shift to listening, learning, and discerning what's important to the benefactor. Tiny mouth, great big ears, and by the way, this is my wife's favorite slide for some reason.
If you focus on closing, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
Development officers, it's about asking permission to have conversations, opening conversations. We are going here.
Yeah, it's if you're going to an important place, it's actually an invitation to take a walk with us, to do something really important.
It's kind of weird, Jim. You can't see anybody. I hope people like this.
Well, right. I'm enjoying it immensely.
All right. So chaos and turnover. So if you are relationship based in the way that you work, which we believe is the way to go, if you are values based, when people are leaving every 14 or 18 months, it is tough. Yeah. Right. So chaos and turnover, development officers, I'm out of here. Right. We are really focusing on culture, and we just got off a team meeting this morning about our team feeling not as connected as they are in this time of COVID. And I'm sure that you're feeling that way too, right? And so, how can we be creative in connection besides Zoom celebrations, happy hour Zooms and things like that? And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's hard right now.
Yeah.
It just is. And sometimes just saying that reduces anxiety, right? And I tell the team, I'm telling you, there's no playbook here, right? Right? But we don't go around. What did your mom say, Jim?
We don't go through life denying difficulties, challenges, stumbling blocks. We go through life despite difficulties, challenges, and stumbling blocks. In fact, there's books out that say the obstacle is the way. This is a chance for us to look at our work in a more creative, engaged way. So
it's not about maybe the shoulder to shoulder. The modality is less as important as the connection.
Yeah.
I'm surprised to see the connection that people have via Zoom. I'm surprised the amount of how long people now talk on the phone because people are lonely. So when our development officers or alumni professionals just reach out and just say, how you doing during all this? They are on the phone a lot longer, building relational equity, not in a unauthentic way to be able to get a gift in 2 weeks, in an authentic way to build. So this is the time of relational equity.
Yeah, and here's the first question we ask our development officers in these times. Would the benefactor feel comfortable if you called them? And then we can ask, do you feel comfortable calling them? Calling strangers, I don't know.
But people that we know, and then creating a culture of abundance that, guys, there's enough. And then people that say, well, we don't have a big team. It's just me. I'm wearing many hats. This is now your values are your calendar and your checkbook. What you spend your time doing, like what your calendar is full of. Development officers, if you're wearing many hats right now, I'm telling you, it's probably 2 to 5 conversations. Are you spending that time on those 2 to 5? Are you creating great stewardship or engagement? Are you increasing that relationship equity? That should be 70% of your calendar. Then the other one is who are my next 3 to 5 to 6 or 7 conversations in year 1, 3, 4, 5? Am I doing everything I can to steward their past giving, to show them so much joy? So when they look at you and say, my God, I didn't know philanthropy could be like this. What's next? There's a lost art in stewardship here where we really show the impact of them. So the higher ground, right? Philanthropy is about a willingness to make lives, communities, and indeed the fragile sphere in which we live a kinder and gentler and sustainable place. Here are our values at CU: benefactor-centric philanthropy, where we really focus our energy and our time on the values of each of our benefactors. Great customer service for our faculty, our benefactors, and each other. And Jim always says this beautifully. We don't understand how team members can be kind to benefactors and not kind to the team. Just because you can raise a lot of money doesn't give you the right to be mean.
Yeah, our evaluations are 60% based on our values and 40% based on what others would call metrics. It's culture is everything.
Positive energy through word and deed. 3 is hard right now. I mean, Jim and I were talking about this before. We're dealing with some cylinders of excellence right now that they seem to be fighting so much, and so the thing is we kind of just try to stop those conversations at about 5 minutes, and then we got to go on to solutions. Because, like his mom said, we're not denying the fact that it's hard right now, everybody. It is.
Yeah.
Right. But it's how we react to it. That is, if you want to make change. Like people say, my team is so dysfunctional. Our organization is too dysfunctional. Guys, the mirror is horrible, right? But you're a part of the organization. So when you're saying our team is dysfunctional, you're saying I'm dysfunctional because you're a part of it, right? And if there's leaders here, leaders do 2 things. They either allow problems or cause problems. So if you know all the gossip, if you know all the negativity in your team, and you're the place where people go to call or they close the door and they talk to you, the problem is you. You're a safe place for that negativity to just to be that light, be the change you want to be. So assume positive intent.
Yeah. Well, Scott, I was just going to
No,
say,
Jim.
what we hear mostly is, well, I believe in this nobility and the side by side, but the leadership doesn't. Just model
Do it.
what you
Model
know
it.
is the right way to practice. Okay.
I don't know about you guys, but I came to see you and people were getting emails and they were mad to get emails. They were pissed and they didn't know why. And let's assume positive when people communicate to us. And number 5 has to do with fear and anxiety, right? Because it's true with fundraisers on the call, it is high stakes. We're in meetings with leaders and it's high stakes. But because of that, sometimes we have analysis paralysis. We overthink things. So we're saying, guys, we want you to be excellent, but not perfect. Action is what we want to see, and with good intent. And if you do that with good intent, with positive energy, great customer service, and benefactor-centered philanthropy, we have found that it's like a moth to a flame. It just is.
So
you feel this now, Jim.
Yes, exactly. I actually am feeling it right now. So just to kind of speed it up, we vacillate between eager and anxious. We really do.
Our job is to reduce the anxiety with our benefactors. That's why we never do surprise philanthropy. We open conversations. We try to increase the joy. Because if people feel joy once, they're going to want to feel it again. So those of you that have cameras, a lot of people take out cameras and they take a picture of this one. So this pretty much, we won't go through this because of our time. But if you do have a camera there, you might want to take a picture of this just because this is kind of everything in one slide.
This is the essence of the big shifts.
This is the shift. Okay.
Yeah.
So last, obligation. Insert any board's name, right? We're going to raise a ton of money. Guys, I pay 17 development officers to ask people for money, and it's hard to get them to do that. Getting a volunteer to ask their really close friends for a large amount of money, it becomes obligation. It's a shell game. They ask their friend asks them, and there's really no joy there. It's more of, I can bend this guy's or this woman's arm and we can get this done. Also, it goes back to fundraisers in the room is I would strongly recommend not having your success based on someone else's actions. It's a tough gig. So Jim and I, in terms of fundraising, now alumni on the group, engagement, community, marketing, political, yes, I think there's some boards there too. But if the strategy is we're going to get a lot of great people on our board and we're going to raise a lot of money, we've seen that it's an interesting strategy. And we are bent in terms of fundraising on a staff-driven model where boards can introduce ideas or concepts, maybe open doors, but in terms of philanthropy, it's around the staff and really getting highly trained professional staff to do it. So the key takeaway, I'm saying in life, whether you're a fundraiser or alumni, are you being measured by things that you can control?
Right. And one of our favorite authors says, helping, fixing, and serving are 3 different ways to see life. When you help, you see life as weak. When you fix, you see life as broken. But when you just purely serve, you see life as a whole. Fixing and serving may be the work of the ego, but serving is the work of the soul, and it will never fail you.
It won't. And this is how we feel by the 3rd meeting, boards and advisory boards. The first meeting is excitement. The second meeting is, we're talking about our vision and where we're going. And the 3rd meeting is, oh, you actually want me to do this and ask people for money? And
it's always the
3rd board meeting.
Yeah, in the fundraising sense. So just quickly, all of our talk this is where the benefactors' values, our mission, development officers' integrity and passion, when they come together, it's a beautiful thing and it results in gifts of significance.
Focus on vision, folks, not on fear.
So Scott always likes me to wrap up here with a poem from R.L. Sharp, Princess Di's favorite Australian poet. Isn't it strange that princes and kings and clowns that caper in sawdust rings, and you and me are builders for eternity? Each is given a set of rules, an uncut mass, a bag of tools, and each shall fashion, ere life is flown, a stumbling block or a stepping stone. And we leave you with asking, are we carving stepping stones for benefactors, for our leaders, for our colleagues, or stumbling blocks? And we really thank you for your attention wherever you are. We appreciate it. We have
6 minutes. So, and the people say it doesn't work. This has been our shift. Focus on values, focus on joy. This has been our rolling 3-year averages since the shift. And then, we actually have if you text, you can get on the Appreciative Philanthropy mailing list. We're doing an event. This is just a very high level. We go deep into each one of these pieces at a 3-day workshop. We're doing it with Advancement Resources. But if you are interested in that, you can just text 228 28, and you'll be added to our mailing list. So with that, Zach, I don't know if there's any questions or what you'd like us to do, but that's the end.
We gave you 5. Sorry.
Scott, Jim, thanks so much. There are several questions. If people have other questions, they can just click on the Ask a Question button and enter those in, and we'll try to cover as many as we can here. So one question that's come in is, if you have more than one investment-worthy opportunity for a donor, do you advise the gift officer or the development officer to choose one or present multiple options? What's your kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I'll let Jim chime in here, but I think it's, if you're relationship-driven and listening, you would know what they want, right? So it's really asking them. We've got some faculty that are pretty excited about 2 ideas, and before we get them excited about that, I'd like to have a conversation about, is there anything here that resonates with you?
Exactly.
And then you've got the permission, because when you've got menus, what menus show us is that we have not. I'm not saying this person has done this, but we have not done the work to understand where they are,
where the sweet spot is.
Am I still sharing my screen? Am I good, Zach?
You're not. I took it off.
Okay,
You're bigger than life. It's great. Yeah. Next question.
Great. Could you speak a little more on advice for big ideas, particularly with higher ed and alumni? A lot of philanthropy is just focused on more money for student scholarships, essentially. And if you're kind of on the front line or in the lower levels of the staff, what more can people be doing to think of those big ideas that are gonna attract the dollars instead of you needing to try to pull them in?
So that's a shift that we get at CU. That is how does the development alumni team become strategic partners with your leadership, where we are really plugged into where the organization is going, and then we can curate narratives on how philanthropists can plug in. And so we're in meetings around that a lot. But this is different. I won't get into the weeds. We have what's called an internal team that really has a good idea, can really curate really good ideas, because what was happening is our external team was spending so much time internally. They weren't even meeting with benefactors. And so now we have an internal team that really focuses on those connections and those narratives that they can then give to the external team. The thing about scholarships is a vision versus need-based narrative. Vision-based, people can talk about debt and how, debt. And that's a talking point. But a vision is, let me tell you about Jimmy. And let me tell you what this scholarship did for Jim and what Jim's doing in the world today. Jim would not have been able to do that were it not for a scholarship. What we're asking you to do is help us find more Jims or more Sallys or more, that's the aspirational narrative versus debt.
Great. We maybe there's a few other questions, maybe have time for one last one. What advice or what have you seen working well specifically for these kind of bigger donors or potential donors in this new kind of COVID world? Anything in particular you all are doing or have seen that's well you can kind of leave us with?
Yeah, so Jim and I just talked about this before we got on. It's interesting, the campaigns of one. Like for us, 13 conversations this year are going to represent $92 million. And so in the world of COVID is how do we engage them in a way that they feel good about, that's respectful. And that might mean, so right now, today, this week we have two that are going to be in someone's garden, socially distancing with masks. Another one is going to be around someone's pool. Another one's going to be a Zoom. And so when you're in COVID, with that 95.5 in development officer, when you've got that one or two, gift conversation that will make you have a great year or not, it's just, COVID's not an excuse not to engage. It's just, how do you do that in a way that's meaningful both for you and the benefactor?
And in both cases that Scott talked about, both cases, the benefactor said, the work must go on. So what's up? What's the progress? What's the next step? Where are you going to put next dollars? So we keep talking. We ask permission for every step, but we keep talking and engaging. COVID is also, think a lot about it. If you're 75 years of age plus and you're very vulnerable, we're seeing a lot of questions around estate planning and people redoing their estate planning and thinking about what they value in their lives. So without pushing, but we open up those portals and conversations.
And what we'd like, we love feedback and Zach, what we'd ask people before you sign off, just what's one word that you feel after this conversation and or how can we make it better? And Zach will give us that feedback. Thank you for taking the time. I mean, time is the one gift that, it is 24 hours and you've given us 60 minutes of your time and we don't take that lightly. And so thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing in this COVID environment. Zach, thank you for the opportunity. And you guys have a great day.
Yeah, Jim, Scott, thank you both so much. People can enter in that ask a question box, that one word, and I'll obviously share that with Jim and Scott. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your day and stay well. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Enjoy. Thank you.
Great. Jim, we're